First item on the agenda is, I'll give you a moment to mute. All right, according to our bylaws, we are supposed to be.
I'll make a motion now.
I
So
understand.
I would like to, someone have to second it, have a get into
Please
discussion rather than.
Please don't interrupt me, sir. What I was going to say is that there's because our bylaws require, it will take a majority vote of the board to change the, basically to overrule the bylaws and push it off to the next meeting, which will be the third week of the month. Is there a second to that motion? All right, is there any discussion?
Okay, the discussion is very important for assignment of committees and board members to a different position, especially certain board member would like to join any committees. In the past, we have situation that board member don't even get into any selection at all, no assignments. And I think there's a lot of good talents on the board member that we should utilize them. And I really hope for this brand new year, we're really able to engage in discussions and able to participate, especially those important issues we need to discuss. So to me, it's very important, especially this year. It's a critical year. I just saw the article this morning. They say the library is no longer next year, it is this year. So that is a very critical thing for us to deal with. And then also annexations, all these are very important issues. I hope everybody can understand 1 week cannot really delay 1 week. It's not that difficult, but then you can really get legitimacy for the really a full board participate rather than some board missing. Otherwise, everybody will scratch your heads and wondering, wow, if we certain board member can participate, that will make it a really legitimate selections. Thank you.
So to clarify, were you suggesting that we do this next week?
Next week, yes.
Call a special meeting
Yes.
for that reason?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
Kind of further clarifying question. What happens if next week we have another board member missing? How long would you like to delay us to have a full?
I don't think this what would have. Yeah. But let's do one that I think it's difficult to say, well, what if next week somebody else and then we deal with them when issues comes up again. It will be different. To me, 1 week, 2 week is not that important. Okay, we have a whole year to do. And since you're temporary chair anyway, so you can continue to be, running the meeting and do whatever necessary.
Actually, we'll have to have a vote on that as well, because the vote that we had last month was just for me to serve as chair throughout the end of the year. So we'll have to do another temporary extension if we want to do it that way.
Yeah, whichever way it is. Those are the logistic. It's not that
I just wanna
critical.
make sure
Yeah,
we have our bases covered.
but I think I thought you're temporary until the next chair being elected.
It
Yeah,
it was for the last 3 meetings of December. I remember asking those questions back then. So
Right.
I just want to make sure that we cover.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I think we can overcome that.
All right. Any further comment?
Yeah, I support the motion, so I'll be voting in favor of it.
All right. Any further comment? Any further discussion? All those in favor then say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the motion passes. I guess a question then for the board real quick before we go on to our consent agenda. Does that mean that we are going to be skipping discussion on community creation, dissolution appointments, priorities, planning exercises, and I think
Yeah, that, I
the
think,
annual meeting calendar for approval as well?
yeah, I think,
Is that what everyone wants to do? Or do you want to still have those discussions? Looking to the board for this because we approved the agenda, or we haven't approved the agenda yet, so I want to make sure we get it right. Yes, Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, well, we can postpone that.
Okay. So that will be new business 11A, 11B, 11D. All right. Okay, so the amended agenda is striking number 4, 11A, B, and D. Are there any further amendments to the agenda?
no,
All right, yes.
I guess adding the vote for temporary chair.
Oh, yes. Yes, we can do that in the same spot. All right. Any further adjustments? The chair will entertain a motion.
so you want the motion to be temporary chair until the next chair being elected?
Yeah, that makes
Okay,
sense.
yeah,
If that's the wording.
Well, right now, we just need to approve the agenda as we've amended it first, so can I get a motion there?
Motion.
All
I'll
right,
second.
and second, all those in favor?
Aye,
All those opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Moving on to the temporary election of board chair and vice chair, I guess it would have to be. Is there a motion? Yes,
Motion to have Commissioner Rowland as chair, temporary chair for until we vote for a permanent chair, and then Commissioner Fernhoff as vice chair.
I'll second that.
all right. Any discussion? Commissioner? Nope. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye,
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. This is claims voucher totaling $612,069.28. Is there a motion for the adoption of the consent agenda? All right, there's a motion. Is there a second? All right. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, the motion will go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
aye,
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Moving on, approval of meeting minutes. This is for November 21st, December 5th, December 12th, and December 19th. Are there any questions, comments, amendments?
I like to vote them separately because I can expect, especially on November 21st, I didn't attend.
Okay. Why don't we pull out? Can we do them all except for November 21st, just as
Yeah.
a group?
That-
All right. So I'll take a motion for the approval of the December minutes.
December?
Yeah.
So moved.
All right. moved
Second.
And seconded. Any discussion, amendments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye,
All those opposed? All right. Moving on, November 21st minutes. Are there any adjustments that need to be made?
Motion
Okay.
to approve the November 21st minutes.
All right, moved.
I'll second.
All right, seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
All those opposed? All right, meeting minutes are done. This opens up public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make a public comment tonight? Anyone online? All right, hearing none, public comments are closed. Moving on to the fire chief's report.
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners, staff, public. I guess I'd just like to say, I hope everybody had a good holiday season. I spent a little bit of time reflecting on 2023. And I guess I want to say we accomplished a heck of a lot. I don't know if we realize how much we actually did accomplish as an organization in 2023. And so I guess I want to say to staff specifically, they did yeoman's work in 2023 and we accomplished things that I think surprised a lot of folks. And so I guess I want to say thanks, and I'm looking forward to 2024. I know we got a couple big ticket things we're working on, conversation with City of Edmonds, the planning for capital facilities plan, and there's probably a couple other things scattered in there. But reflecting back on 2023, I'm pretty proud of where we, the organization, were and where we came. And I hope you are also, because you're a big part of how we got through 2023 and what we accomplished. So with that, I say thank you. And I've just got a couple things. I've got a couple slides. The communications division hit the ground running. At Station 23, we have a neighborhood night open house. At Station 23 on the 11th of January, 5:30 to 7. I know we have several commissioners that attend those. It's always well appreciated when you do. That's one right around the corner in the next slide. Annual countywide Scouts Day. For us, it'll be at Mariner High School, Station 11, January 13th, 11 to 1. And you need to register for the event. And I just want to let you know that's happening. And then in the month of March, our neighbor, Snohomish Regional, will be doing the same thing at their Station 71 in Clearview. Next slide, please. On New Year's Eve, we actually had a house fire in Eastmont. And crews again, and I actually responded on this one. Crews did an exceptional job of keeping the fire at bay. Initially, when I was responding in, it sounded like potentially we were going to have potentially a full loss of the whole occupancy, and crews again do outstanding work. And were able to extinguish the fire, quite frankly, before I got there. And they rescued several animals, dogs, cats, rabbits, snakes. You can see the Everett firefighter providing aid to one of the dogs. Support 7 was there. There's 2 families that actually lived in the home that were displaced. I think 8 residents in total. The county fire marshals currently investigating the cause. And Everett actually was assisted South County on this fire. So again, job well done by our crews. I think we sound like a broken record, but they really do exceptional work from the first arriving crew and the mutual aid companies. Again, just let you know that happened on New Year's Eve, and they did a fantastic job. And there was something else I was supposed to talk about. No, I can't remember what it was. Oh, I do remember. Leslie and I on last Thursday, so is that the 28th or 29th? We had the privilege of meeting here in this building, in this room with Mayor-elect Rosen. We talked for about 3 hours. I think it was productive. The intent of that meeting was to give him the same brief, or at least started with the same brief that we gave the council folks in August in the city of Edmonds. It went long. It was a great conversation. I'm sure now he's busy, as the new mayor, now sworn in the city of Edmonds. We'll stay in contact, with Mayor Rosen and, continue those conversations, and we'll continue to brief the board on where we are with the city of Edmonds and that dialogue. And I would assume at some time in the future, we'll have some formal meetings with them as a result of where we are in the letters we sent. I will say that if you don't remember, they did, the city council did enter into a contract with Fitch and Associates to look at fire service. Again, if for the folks that have been here a while, in 2017, Fitch did another report for the city of Edmonds. I've been playing phone tag with Dr. Knight. Obviously, some of the information he's going to need, we're going to need to provide for them. And he was very, very easy to work with. And quite frankly, a pleasure to work with in 2017. I don't think that being anything different than now. But I don't suspect that there'll be a lot of dialogue, at least at the elected level, with the city of Edmonds at such a time as that reports back, would be my assumption. If that changes, I'll make sure to forward that on to the board. And once we get the new committees established, my assumption would be is we'd have intergovernmental, and we will keep them appraised on a more frequent basis, just on the dialogue that's going on with that. And so, unless there's any questions, that concludes my report for tonight.
Questions? Commissioner Chan.
Well, I think this particularly you. Chief Eastman, I think you really step up because of the absence of Chief Ovis. First of all, at the beginning, I've already said 1 to 2 meeting delay, but you continue, for the, more than 3 months. And it's amazing. I was really concerned. I remember I probably tell you, you don't ever retire on us until the situation, certain. And this is great. And I really appreciate everybody working really well. I did not hear any incident, lacking or anything like that. So it is really, I'm really happy. Chief really does a good job in here. And I think especially I want to thank Leslie. And Leslie, who's education, is it still under?
So Leslie's the director of communications, and then we got Christy, who's the new PIO, Shawnery Guzman was
Okay.
the lead for public education. And then I forget the new gal's name that we hired to replace Jenny Cooper. My apologies. What? Megan, sorry.
Oh, Megan.
Yep.
So who's Shawnery report to now?
Leslie Hines.
Leslie, okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I've been coming to our Asian Service Center, did a lot of work, not just her, there's a few other people in there that really help a lot. And speaking of Asian Service Center, actually is on the news now. Rosen chose to come to Asian Service Center to have his oath also administered by our old fire commissioner, Christine, in there. And one thing I'm so impressed is that, saw the news is that they are basically standing in the room only. And then I see all his supporter. I think Edmonds will definitely be a very good, working well with everybody. And the reason he wanted to choose it too is able to reach out to the minority community and also on the Highway 99. So I think that's a good move. Thank you. Thank you all your staff.
Commissioner Chan, so thanks very much. I will say though, the staff in this building is exceptional. I mean, we get the privilege to highlight the crews in the street on a very frequent basis. We don't always do it to the staff. Leslie's not here, but you're looking at the team, and it's an exceptional team. And then you add the deputy chiefs and you add the managers and I will tell you, it's a fine oil machine, and it's not that we don't have places to grow, and it's not that we can't do things better. We're always can improve. But I would say that we've hit our stride. I think for the most part, people are happy to come to work. And I'll say thanks on behalf of all of them, but the reason the success has happened since I've been in this seat is because of the folks that are sitting next to me and the folks that are at home having dinner with their families. Everybody stepped up. Everybody's doing yeoman's work in this organization. I'm proud of them because I actually get to see it. And you should also be proud because the folks that we put in this building to do the work, most of them are doing the work of one or two people. And I don't say that lightly, it's true. And they do it with a smile, they do it with grace, they do it with, all those things that we want them to do. And are part of the mission, which is serving the public that we're here to do. So I'll say thank you on behalf of all of them and for the kind words to me. I appreciate it, Commissioner Shannon.
For another extra deputy chief to fill in. I mean, I was surprised. Thank you.
All right, moving on to the legal report with Attorney Richard Davis.
Good evening, Commissioners, and I want to wish you all a happy new year. Hope you had a good holiday. I kind of want to echo what Chief Eastman said, and that is South County Fire accomplished a lot in 2023, and we are, I'll speak on behalf of our firm and say that we are very privileged to work with South County Fire and the incredible staff that you have, very knowledgeable staff, and just a pleasure to work with. So I look forward to a lot of things that South County Fire will accomplish in 2024. It was a good year last year, and so I appreciate the opportunity to work with you. Not much to report for December. It was a little bit of a light month. I think the highlight was reconnecting with former Chief and now Commissioner Ed Wittes and giving the open government training in person. Apart from that, it was pretty much typical legal services of providing advice to staff on a variety of issues, and that was pretty much it in December. And that is about all I have to say for my report tonight. Again, Happy New Year, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them.
Question from me, the news articles that have recently hit with the cities of Linwood and Mukilteo adjusting their public comments and doing so. It doesn't look like, it looks like in one case, maybe there was something against RCWs, but in the other, it may have been procedural. My question for you is given that there is kind of a spate of people that are calling in online randomly to rant about things that are unrelated to the agenda, is there something that you would recommend for us to do, or is there anything we need to be careful of doing in trying to handle that situation if it were to come up?
Well, one of the things you can do, and I'm happy to provide a more detailed memo that you can read on this. It might help in kind of your discussions about how you want to handle public comment in the future, but you can impose reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. Public comment period is deemed under First Amendment law to be a limited public forum. So while you can't restrict, like viewpoints, things of that nature, but what you can do is impose reasonable time, place, and manner. So for instance, you have a rule that says speakers are limited to 3 minutes. That's a reasonable manner restriction or time restriction on public comment. You can impose other restrictions, such as your comments have to be limited to items that are on our agenda tonight, things like that. And I know that a couple of cities have gone to the point of requiring some pre-registration if you want to provide comment remotely. So if you show up in person, the way that I have understood those rules is if you show up in person, there's no pre-registration. But if you want to provide comment remotely, there's a pre-registration form that has to be completed, name, email address, phone number, things of that nature that have to be supplied. There is little, I would say there's no authority at this point on whether or not those kinds of requirements are going to withstand judicial scrutiny. I think that they probably do. I have not done exhaustive research on this, but I have kind of looked at these issues a little bit as they have, as different jurisdictions have passed them. And I think it's probably okay. And that's a preliminary opinion just based on the fact that if somebody, ordinarily, you've heard me say before, you can't require people to come in and sign a register as to who they are or their address or any of those kinds of things. But this does seem to probably be a reasonable manner restriction of requiring pre-registration, because if you don't want to provide your name or other identifying information, you can provide your comment in person, right? You don't have any requirement if you provide public comment in person. But again, this is an evolving area, and I think it's probably going to be an area that winds up in litigation at some point. We're going to get some guidance from the courts as to whether or not you can impose those restrictions on the remote public comment. I don't know if that answers your question. Hopefully that's
No, that
some
gives
information.
definitely some more information. From what I understood, and thank you for clarifying the whole, you can try to keep people to items on the agenda. I think that will be helpful possibly. Some of the cities have gone, or at least one of them, I think, went just to written only. From my reading of the RCWs, it's either oral or written. You can't require oral in person, but written if you're not in person, or can you do a mixture?
You could require just written comment. Because again, that's a manner restriction. What manner is somebody going to give their comment in? It could be verbal in person, it could be remote, it could be written. And so if you wished, you could restrict public comment to written comment. But the new statute says that if you accept written comment, it has to be distributed to the commissioners, each commissioner, in advance of the meeting.
All right. Yes,
You done?
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I have attended a lot of city council meetings, and I agree that the person has to identify who is, who she is. But I do not agree on restricted items on the discussions. Because a lot of people, citizen, they want to come in and say, I want the road, we need repair, whatever, but it's not on the item. So I think the more restrictions you give to them, the less, to me, we are for the people. We're voted for the people, by the people. Sometimes it can be irritating, but if you do more restriction, it just create more problem. So I would, unless it gets out of hand, but I think the time allowed is very critical. I will admins, I will go strict on that. When with a light in there, 3 minutes, you're done. So unfortunately, I think, fortunately, we don't have, I mean here, I've been here for 20 years. How often do they have comments in here? One person show up once a year? Or, actually, we want to encouraging more people to come in here to participate, because I want to listening to the constituents. What do they want to say? So, as from my point of view.
Liaison Hoffman.
Yeah, of course, I'm not a voting member, but I would suggest that you consider seriously some kind of restrictions on online commentary, right?
Online,
Which is
yes.
different. There's a luxury involved there with somebody being able to just sit at their home computer or on their phone and make comments, especially anonymously. And as we all know, the internet's developed into something where people can sit behind a false name and not identify themselves and feel quite free to say things that they wouldn't say in person, and it can be destructive rather than helpful to a conversation. I would agree that if somebody shows up in person, they should have the right to say whatever they need to, as long as it's referencing something involving South County Fire or whatever agency or locality that happens to be. But I would caution, in my experience with municipal government and now with this group, I would caution, or I would say that I would encourage you to develop some kind of structure for online restrictions to that, so that people would have to identify what they were talking about or be limited to subjects that were on the agenda, just because I've watched it go sideways a few times now personally. So.
Yeah, Commissioner Chan, I don't know, did you get a chance to read those articles, or have you read it? Yeah, the reason I brought it up is not because I feel very strongly that people should be able to say what they need to say, but given that this seems to be an organized attempt to kind of hijack the public comment process in other municipalities, it could just be a matter of time as these other municipalities start to clamp down and restrict, but they find just the next one that they can get on. And the other piece to it would be, because we record our meetings, all of those public comments, no matter what horrible things they may say then are going to be sitting, on the internet forever. So I have kind of mixed feelings about the whole situation. But I just wanted to bring it up to kind of figure out what our options were and, what the thoughts of my fellow commissions are. Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, I can see how it could be a problem in the future. I don't think, especially with the online, that it hasn't even happened. So we probably over time should probably have some contingency plans in case it does get to be a problem, but it's no problem for us now. We have had some disturbing public comments here lately, but just hoping they'll tail off. And so contingency plans, no rush into it because nothing's really happening. Because yeah, I could see it definitely. People could cause chaos, and people getting any work done if I get hijacked by the whoever they may be. Thank
Yeah,
you.
the thing that surprised me was the way that those articles were read or written. They were very much concentrating on the rules of the organization, not necessarily the RCWs. So what rules were in place at the time where either the rules were changed or people tried to talk and, they restricted it. That's why I think it would behoove us to preemptively decide on something. Doesn't have to be tonight. I would rather have something down either. I don't know if it's possible that at a minimum, online public comments aren't part of the recording that gets posted online or something like that. Or if we go to just written only until this dies down and then we can open it back up to oral. Since we don't have that many people that come and talk, I don't think that would be a huge restriction in the meantime, but I don't know how long, and I don't want it to be a long period of time if we did anything like that. But just something to think about.
But I think the amount can even speak now.
That's all right.
People need to identify themselves, even online, right? I think that is critical. But I think the people who choose that, they don't choose fire waters because city council is where most you get more attention. And also that many of the city council is basically they have what I call frequent speaker. Those are the people you can identify. They can come in here. Some of them are ex-city council member.
But those groups that are doing these bombings aren't the regulars. They are something that just pops up one night. All of a
Right.
sudden you have a bunch of people in your Zoom meeting and you open up public comments and it's too late to do anything. So,
Yeah, but what I'm saying, yeah, I understand that. But what I'm saying that I was a victim of someone who did not identify themselves and saying that he saw something and all that stuff. So
Attorney Davis, you said that doing any sort of forms or something like that isn't black and white as far as the law is concerned and could result in someone trying to sue to see if the courts would uphold it. Is that what I understood?
Yeah, I think that is an area that's ripe for litigation at some point. The Open Public Meetings Act says you can't impose restrictions on someone's attendance, right? So you couldn't have a sign-up sheet to enter and see the meeting in person, for instance. And ordinarily, you should not impose restrictions on public comment other than to sign a sheet. Like if you had a whole host of folks who wanted to offer comment and you don't have enough time to accommodate everybody, you'd have a sign-up sheet just to do it in an orderly, present the commenters in an orderly fashion. But I think there's a real legal question as to whether you can require somebody to provide their name or any other identifying information as a condition of offering comment. The reason I say that is because most recently the statute was amended, the Open Public Meetings Act, to say that public comment is required. Used to be that it was optional. And South County Fire has done it, and Snohomish County Fire District 1 has always offered public comment, but it wasn't required. Now the statute says it's required, but you still can impose restrictions on it. The legislature didn't go so far as to say what kinds of restrictions can be imposed. I could easily see somebody saying that that is an impermissible restriction. I should not have to identify myself. And as far as I know, there's no authority at all on that particular issue. I think it's something that probably gets litigated at some point in the future. And these various jurisdictions are kind of testing the limits of what might be permissible. Again, my preliminary view is I think it's okay because people, if they don't want to identify themselves, they have the ability to come in and offer comment in person, and you don't require them to say who they are. But again, it's an open question. That's all I can say at this point.
And I'm sure if somebody's intent on causing mayhem, there's no reason that they would put their real information on an online form anyway. I would be very careful given, some of the interactions that we've had on placing any restrictions that aren't to the letter of the law, because I don't want us to be the organization that has to, go to court to defend a decision that we made because we don't know if it's black or white. So my only last question is it an either or when it comes to oral or written? Can it be split between in-person oral, anything remote needs to be written, or does it? Because I read it, it just had the word or, and I don't know if that means we have any flexibility there, or if it's one or the other.
No, I think you could restrict public comment to in-person, verbal comment in person, and written comment if it's, if somebody is not going to present in person. So you could, in other words, you don't have to offer remote verbal public comment. There's nothing in the statute that would require that. You're
Right.
offering people the opportunity to provide it in person or in writing in advance. If you wish, you're
Okay,
entitled to do that.
I'll have to go back to the RCW because I do remember there's one clause that says if we offer it in oral, something about if a person has a disability or an inability to come to the meeting or something like that, then we have to offer oral in for remote. So that's why I was kind of confused as to the way it was written. I thought it was an either or, but I don't know.
No,
so-
you're correct, Commissioner Rowland, and that deals with somebody who is unable to attend in person. So if you offer, in-person verbal public comment, and somebody has, say, a disability or other reason why they can't attend in person, then they are afforded the right to have verbal remote comment. But anybody else who just chooses to view the meeting remotely would not have to be offered that option.
Gotcha. As I said before, if somebody's intent on creating mayhem, I don't expect them to be honest in whatever process we put. They'll just, check the box or put whatever they want down. So, all right, a lot to think about there. I just wanted to bring it up before we had to deal with it firsthand. So thank you for your advice on that. Moving on, that gets us to a union report. Thank you for bearing with us. I think Zach Cash is on the line here for the union.
Yep, that's right. I won't rant at all tonight, but I will repeat something of Chief Eastman that he said was the crew, that they did a great job. I have been stationed out at Eastmont the past year, which is where the fire occurred. And I can just tell you that crew who was on, I see them often. And, we kind of have a good friendship, everyone on the line, right? When we pass each other in the mornings, we give each other kind of, the off-going report. This crew was a firefighter who just got off of probation not too long ago. An EO who was an engine operator who was acting in that role for the day, which means he's not promoted to that role. He's just temporarily there for the day. And he just passed his test to be able to operate the engine like the week before. And so it's pretty rare to have someone who just gets their ability to drive the engine and has a pretty big event so soon after that. So he did an excellent job on that fire, obviously. And then a pretty seasoned captain who is going to be going to days and won't have the chance to fight fires or be on the line here this upcoming year. So I just wanted to attest to what Chief said, that it was a great job, and thankful for Local 46 and their help in that as well. I also want to mention that I'm not sure if the commissioners know this, but Station 12 happened to have the brand new engine that the department bought. And I know that the crews have been happy with that engine. And, it's nice to have a rig that is new, that we don't have to worry about completing the mission to get onto a scene and make sure that the citizens are taken care of. So we appreciate getting that equipment and into the hands of our members who can serve the public with it. So thank you. Last thing I wanted to bring up was news out of the Port of Seattle. There's a firefighter who passed away from occupational cancer, the firefighter Alvin Vaughn from local 1257. I just want to mention that because I think, just remembering the sacrifice of some of our brothers and sisters out there is important. And occupational cancer, more than ever, seems to be something that is affecting our members. So his service will be later in this week, and just grateful to, have a department who supports our members, and just hope that we can all remember the sacrifice everyone's given every day, because that ends up being a cumulative effect on a lot of folks. So that's it for my report tonight. Thank you.
All right,
Questions?
please.
Well, happy, Zach. Can you,
Cut out. What did you say?
I say happy New Year.
Oh, Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah, actually, I did watch, I think from CNN. I think I'm a news junkie. Basically, they have a big coverage on that. I think they were saying one of the largest labor union, fire union, the guys talk about, actually the title basically, the danger of being fireman is not the fire itself, but the jacket, the equipment they wear. And they would go into detail about, because you keep on wearing the same thing just by the uniform. So I know we had that discussion before. So I would like to see we can, it's very expensive to replacing all the uniform, but if that is really truly cause of it, we should think about it, because I gotta go back and wonder what the document, I think from CNN, and basically talk about the whole cancer as the biggest danger, not the fire itself. I don't know which fire union was talking about.
I don't remember. Are you talking about PFAS, the
Yeah.
chemical that's so I can tell you we are actively looking for alternatives. I know we've been working with labor. And I guess Zach, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've been working as part of a group statewide to go down and to ensure that the uniforms we wear don't have PFAS in them. I think they're looking at 2 different styles of gear now that meet the WAC. I think the bunker coats and the bunker pants are a different challenge that we're working through. I know organization we've limited. Folks don't wear their Bravo uniform anymore. They wear t-shirts, so they don't wear their badge shirt. They wear uniform pants when they're on calls. They're able to wear shorts or sweatpants in the station. So we've done several things organization to limit their exposure until we can find a permanent solution or a long-term solution, which we are working with labor on that issue. I know Chief Maxwell gave me a brief, I want to say last week or the week before, of 2 different pants we're trying out that are free of PFAS. One of them's a cotton, one of them's wool, to figure out where we need to go, because there is a cost associated with it.
Right.
So when we go, we want to make sure we're working in tandem with the labor group. And we're talking not just our labor group, but we're part of the state group to ensure that where we go for station wear is the appropriate place to go for the long run. And I think the more challenging conversation is going to be our bunker gear. But that is part of the same conversation. And so we are actually, I'm going to say, leading the state along with our labor group with regards to where we should be going, at least in the state of Washington, for not just the station wear, but for the rest of the PPE. And there's more to come on that, Commissioner Chan. I just want you to know we are forward leaning in it. We've done the best we can do to limit exposure for the rank and file right now. And we're limited with bunker gear that they wear it when they have to, and they're not wearing it when they don't have to, and those kind of things. until we get to permanent solutions. So I don't want to speak for Zach, but I see him shaking his head. I think we're working in tandem with that. I don't think labor, I mean, I think we're working very well to find the solution and the right solution, and not knee jerk. So Zach, I didn't want to put any words in your mouth.
No,
So
you
I-
said it great, Chief. You said it great. And the State Council of Firefighters here in Washington State is responsible for Healthy In, Healthy Out. They pioneered the standard that the International Association of Firefighters uses across the world for keeping our members healthy. And so we've obviously adopted that as a department. And then we also have, you know, even extra things beyond that with pop-up tents that we have on our rigs so that our firefighters are able to change in privacy on scenes out of their contaminated gear and be able to return to the station and get clean before they go back out on other calls. So it's a big support from the department. We appreciate working together in tandem.
Yeah, I would put that as our board issues. I think that would be, to me, is an urgent thing we need to take care of. Thank you.
There are options right now in the Class B uniforms and possibilities for replacing them. But the bunker gear, there's nothing yet on the market that we're able to find.
I'll defer to Sean, because Sean's got rather than.
Yeah, Chief Hudson, who's our health and safety chief. There's, again, Zach, jump in if you want. There's about 5 departments in the state working with the state council, but there's probably 5 leading departments in the state working really aggressively on this. We took the initial aggressive action to get people out of it. Probably what we're going to end up doing is going back to the old ways, the wool that firefighters used to wear in yesteryear. Some of the things we're navigating right now is, as you know, our laws become outdated and they change very slowly. So right now we're trying to do the right thing to protect firefighters from the chemicals and not violate the current law. So it's this funny little thing we're navigating. But I can say there's about 5 departments working with the state council, us being one of them, that I think we're getting pretty close to some solutions. And then we would probably be coming to the board, you know, once we have some of our crews that they might already be testing a few versions right now in the street.
For bunker gear or?
No, strictly on the uniform. We haven't even been able to tackle. We're just working on the uniforms right now.
Yeah, definitely different requirements for running into a building that's on fire and trying to balance those out and, you know.
Yeah.
Risks that are better than the alternatives, you know, whether it comes to.
Well, there was a move, you know, to have fire resistant material that we're wearing as a second layer under our bunker gear.
Mhm.
So, you know, the risk is we didn't want to have something that would melt to our skin. But now, you know, maybe cotton or wool, it's just going to be the best we can do, but there isn't an alternative to the bunker gear, right? So,
all right. Well, as someone who occasionally has to don the bunker gear, I would definitely be interested once we find alternatives, but otherwise, you know, we'll just hold fast and hopefully the demand that we're driving will yield results.
yeah, I assure you, our department's out front and we'll be probably one of the first to move when we get the right information.
Great. Love to talk to you more about some of the stuff that's out there. All right. Is there anything else from the union?
No, that's everything for me. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, moving on. That brings us to new business item C, third quarter 2023 financial report for discussion. CFO Bothwell, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Commissioners. I just have a brief report for you tonight. I'm going to really quickly go over the third quarter 2023 financial results, and then I've got a few general finance updates to share with you tonight. So I'll start with the third quarter. Revenues and expenditures were on track at the end of the third quarter, and that's relative to budget. They were performing very well. 69% of revenues have been collected at the end of the quarter. That seems a little low, but we have to make some adjustments for revenues that are not received evenly throughout the year, like property tax. And when we make those adjustments, we're right on track, right around where we should be. So 72% of expenditure budget was spent at the end of the quarter. That's a little lower than the 75% we would expect, but there's some adjustments we make to that too for items that we expect to happen in the fourth quarter that aren't yet booked in the third quarter, obviously. So we expect to finish the year 1 or 2% under budget for expenditures as well. I just put in a slide to follow up on some prior quarter trends that were reported. Each of these 4 trends were continued through the third quarter. The first 2 are ambulance or transport revenue and investment income. Both are performing better than budget. Each of these items were expected to contribute an additional couple $100,000 to the general fund by the end of the year. Employee costs also continued the trend of underspending the budget. By the end of the year, we reported previously they would underspend by approximately $1 million, and that's continuing. So we're expecting around $1 million savings in employee costs as well. And that a lot of that has to do with implementing the new contract at the same time we were developing the budget, and then the retro that had to be paid for prior years. So we are tracking those employee costs closely, and the 2024 budget reflects our actual costs after those things have been done. Fuel costs were overspending the budget a little bit, and this is just because of the cost of fuel. We have no control over that. It's come down more recently, so we expect that item to normalize. I've got 4 other finance updates for you, and these are just things of kind of general interest that pertain to finance. The first one is the 21-22 audits are underway. Those are financial statement audits and accountability audits. You should have received some correspondence from Melissa about the entrance conference that's going to be occurring on the 18th of this month for those audits. The second one is in the first quarter, we're expecting to issue a request for proposals for banking services. So you'll probably hear more about that in the future. One of the things that's kind of unique that we're doing is we're asking proposers to include any innovative services or strategies in their proposals. And we're going to be focused on things that would increase the efficiency of our treasury function or allow us to increase the returns on idle resources. So more to come on that. The third item is a little more technical. This is the open period or 13th period. And you'll know why I'm telling you this when I get to the end of it. State law, despite being cash basis, state law allows us to use 20 days after the end of the year to accrue expenses or book the expenses back to the prior year. This organization has typically not done that in the past. So we're implementing that for 2023. So tonight on the consent agenda, those disbursements were actually attributed back to 2023. We'll do that. We'll have another batch on the 16th. That'll be the same thing. And what it does is going forward, it'll improve the quality of our reporting, of our financial reporting. It won't really impact the financial reporting until 2024 when it's fully implemented. But that's something we're moving forward with. And so you'll see those batches with the dates back in 2023 tonight and then on the 16th. And then the final item is just the investment policy implementation is scheduled to resume in Q1. So last time I did an update, I told you that we had paused on the implementation of the investment policy just based on the short-term returns on investment and also just capacity of staff. So we are going to resume that in Q1. And so more to come on that as well. And then my final slide is just what to expect going forward. So the quarterly reports so far have been a little sporadic. And so in 2024, I want to get on a schedule where those are at least proposed for the agenda for the work session following the end of the quarter. So the first one would be first quarter 2024 would be at the April work session. We'd also like to get on a schedule where the annual reports are a draft annual report is being presented in that April timeframe as well for the previous year. That's not likely to happen this year just due to some kind of unique circumstances for this year. So we're probably going to be on the May-June schedule for the 2023 draft annual report. But we are moving towards getting that done sooner. So April timeframe is kind of our goal. So that is the end of the updates. I'm going to take this down and see if there's any questions.
Any questions?
I hate to raise a hand again. All right. Well, you see a smile on my face. So the 13th period is kind of, if you spend any money, you can go back to for 2022, 23. But you have to spend it first. If you don't spend it, then you still cannot accrue it. Is that correct?
Right, yeah, we're not going to accrue liabilities for the financial statements. It just allows us to match them back to the period where we got the benefit.
Right. So I would like to encourage you to pay all our bills on time so that we can seriously become that really matching up the 2023 period.
So just to be clear, it's not a matter of paying the bills on time. It's attributing the bill to the correct period. So our
Right.
prior cutoff would be for the last meeting in December. We would have to distribute invoices and get them all back, get them in the reports and stuff by like, our cutoff would be like the first week of December, or maybe like middle of the second week of December. Now it's going to be into January. Well, we know that all those invoices in between, most
Right.
of them are going to be attributable to 2023. So it's just going to allow us to book them back to 2023.
Right, but okay, so just the invoice itself, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's kind of accrue, right?
It's better. Yeah.
So we're moving to the right direction. That's I'm smiling. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Any further questions? Okay, moving on, WFCA Legislative Day for discussion. This is under Ms. Blankenship.
I can let you take it if you'd like. It's just the document on the very back page.
We'll go ahead.
Okay. This item is something that I have championed and led in the past. The last couple of years, it hasn't been as high on the priority list of the board necessarily, particularly because there had not been an incredible amount of legislation that's really been pertinent to us. There may be some this year. Unfortunately, I don't have a list of particular legislation other than what is in that legislative day packet. I believe the meetings have just started for the legislative committee for WFCA. So I guess the main question that I'd like to ask is, anyone interested in attending this year? And if so, how many of you would like to go? And it starts at 8 a.m. on a particular morning on the 23rd. And so I believe we started to have this discussion last year. We decided that we would go. And then it turned out that members of staff couldn't really make it because it ended up being on a Friday and it was before a holiday weekend. And so it was just bad timing. So this year, I'd just like you to think about it, check your calendars. And if you do decide you want to go, we're going to have to put a full court press on to figure out exactly what we will be championing, unless you just want to go to shake hands with your fellow legislators and visit. Chief Eastman may have some additional information based on fire chief's priorities. I know, Zach, if you can still hear me, the union probably has some priorities that they will be championing, and all Washington cities always has some priorities as well.
So I will let you know that at least myself, right now, Sean and Jason, we're talking about going. There'll be a couple of us to go for sure. And part of it is there's been Sean does the legislative stuff for the county chiefs. And there is some legislative work, not necessarily with the legislators directly. It's a short session, so you get very little time with them this year. But to lay the groundwork for legislative endeavors for years to come. So staff will be down there, so you guys know. A lot of it has to do with meeting with our counterparts in the fire side, to talk through, some of the legislative initiatives that staff have been talking about, Sean specifically, and brainstorm with our counterparts down there, to set the stage, probably not for this short session, but set the stage for off session and then starting into next year's long session. So just so the board knows, staff is going to be down there. I don't know if we're going to go the night before. My guess is we will. But more for us internally to go figure out some of the things that we've been talking about over time. and working with the counterparts down there. So I want to let you know, staff's considering that. I haven't talked to Chief Hovis about it, but I'm pretty sure he's going to let some of us go anyway. So, that's really all I have to offer. Like I said, it's going to be a short session. You know, the legislators are going to be pretty busy, and whether we get time with them or not, there are legislators that we're really good friends with that, whether we get to talk to them or their aides, we've got connections that we can utilize when we need to, with that. But I want to let just the board know we are going, maybe not traditionally how we've done in the past, Commissioner Chan, where, you know, we've got very set up schedules to go. I think, we're not opposed to doing that. But I think we have a very specific, at least for the morning time, to go down and do some of the legwork we need to do, to prep for after this session and gearing up for the long session next year. So, that's my update for, where we currently are, with that.
All right. I know one issue that I brought up in our meeting that I'm kind of interested in learning more about is this is a report that came kind of firsthand to me at the emergency preparedness event, is that there was legislation that was passed around, I think it was 2019-ish, with regards to requiring smoke detectors in all new construction, the fines associated with not being up to snuff on it, and the fact that all of that money was supposed to go into a fund that's earmarked for fire prevention services, smoke detector giveaways, things like that, things that Sean Marie Guzman, I know she takes advantage of. I guess it was one of the originators of the bill, on the citizen side, came to me and said they've been having trouble as external organizations getting access to the funds. From what they know, it's not actually being implemented and enforced statewide. We may be one of the only agencies that is actually doing anything about it. I believe he said in Linwood was where it was happening. I know we're still looking into if it's more widespread, but if he seems to have his finger on the pulse of it, I just want to make sure that, you know, if we can find out that information, if we need to either talk to our counterparts or talk to legislators about just how to get the word out, to the other agencies so that they're, you know, able to recoup some of these funds for fire prevention, which we know is so important, and B, so that, you know, we actually have uniformity across our jurisdiction, hopefully the jurisdictions nearby. So that's one issue that I did bring up. Were there other issues that you guys were interested in? Yes.
Oh, since Chief Eastman mentioned my name particularly, like we've done in the past, and I think Melissa too, in the past, either we have issue or not issue, I think it's a very good routine for us to go shake hands and get to, you know them, and that's how we get to, a lot of time our representative, you don't just, when you have something, then go to them, but you really start relationship. And also, Commissioner Willis, when we went to Washington, D.C. to do the big issues. Now, somebody asking, well, gee, you know, those senators are here, the congressmen are here, why do we need to go there? But when you go there, they have make a special way. They always make an appointment, you shake hands or whatever it is. So they pay attention over in Washington, D.C. But also it is you learn a lot from the nationwide, what issue the other people have. So I think that was to me that we might want to consider redo that again on Washington D.C. thing. We went out and tried to get our money for our basement. We never got it, but
we've got quite a bit of money.
No,
We have got.
push the button again. Gotta wait for it to turn red. There you go.
We have been fairly successful out in Washington, D.C. And the difference between D.C. and the state is we get the federal grants from D.C. We don't get them from the state. There's little grants. There's some things we get. I believe we got the technical rescue unit. That was a grant. Successful that we did SCBA's. We got several $1 million by going out there and working. And what's kind of crazy is you talk with the senators, but you really go through Congress to get the money. Which I haven't quite figured out, but it works, and I was happy with it and was happy to get their checks that came in. But just like you're saying about going down to Olympia, it's not, I don't believe we have this issue we have to get done. what I like about it is you get to know the people and they get to know you. And then when there's an issue, then you're on the same page. You kind of know what's going on.
I'd completely agree with that in my experience, both kind of advocating and lobbying on the political side, but also before that, I did some environmental work, and it makes a difference. It may take a year or two for your concerns to come up, but you can really see some good movement, but you've got to be willing to go down there because, you know, people calling their legislators only go so far because you only have so much room in a memo pad for all the issues and you can't go into detail. So I would definitely be interested in going this year. I don't know who else.
I already sent already.
All right, if we did any more than three commissioners, that would be, we probably have to travel separately. How would that work if any of the?
No, that's okay. I think that's a conference, same thing as conference. I mean, we don't discuss our own things in here. We discuss, you know, with them. And I still remember, every year, Paul Sheehan, he was an old senator, he reading his poem every single year. But that's a relationship building, you know.
Well, and also with that, what we found is we have so many people down there we have to see. We're split up most of the time.
Yeah.
Sure.
To see the people.
Well, we'll see if any of the other commissioners are interested in taking that day. I do believe your plan to go down the night before is a sound one. Otherwise, given traffic and trying to get through everything at that time of day to get there at 8 a.m., it's a 4:30 get up and get ready, and you got to be out of here by 5. So I think we should definitely plan for staying the night before, and that would be a Monday night. Going into Tuesday, how late would we stay on Tuesday? Is it what? No, it's the 23rd. So we have the night off anyway, so that will work perfectly.
Yeah, you can usually get home just fine. What I was going to say, I was on a panel the other day. One of our representatives very interested in what's called co-responder, and it's addressing this law enforcement response to social issues. It's how do we support the community medicine issues financially. I think that there'd be a lot of value in us discussing that both at the state and the federal level. I mean, Commissioner Wittes was down there when we passed the legislation to get community paramedics. And now I know of at least 2 representatives that are saying, okay, now how do we support you in this? I think that alone would be worth going down there and just reminding them that we do need funding for these social and mental health responses that are starting to become one of the mainstays of our response.
One other thing that I was curious about, I believe the state of Washington had set aside money to help retrofit schools for dealing with earthquake preparedness. But I didn't see anything in there that they had allocated any funds to emergency services. I know that that's part of our kind of capital facilities plan is some of our buildings need that earthquake retrofitting. I mean, in the event of a bad earthquake here, the last thing we need is, a quarter of our stations to be, collapsed after 4 minutes of shaking. So I don't know if there's been any work done or any just conversation started around, well, the state wants to spend money to help schools. If the earthquake happens when schools are, in session, all the buildings around the school most likely will be in some form of collapse. And for the emergency services for us, if there's any grant program or something that they might be interested in extending, that could help with some of our capital facility needs as well. And I'm sure across the state, that's the same way. So maybe just kind of start the conversation around that. All right. Anything else? All right, then we will move on and plan for January 23rd. Ahead of that, we'll probably want to have a meeting or two, just kind of so that the attendees know what we need to do and so that we can stay coordinated on that. Okay, that brings us to commissioner comments. Oh, wait, nope, F. Commissioner apparel for discussion. I had this down. One of the things I wanted to bring up is I know that in the past there was, I believe there's an allotment of two polo shirts is what we've allotted for the commissioners. I know that some commissioners have been around for a while and have some of the old button ups or things like that. I want to do, just at least get the conversation started on, is that still what we want and need? And B, see if what commissioners think about the addition of a jacket for events that we have to do when it's raining, when it's, parades, when it's cold. I know that last year I was in a parade walking in front with Commissioner Chan, and we just had our regular coats on. We could have just been any random people just walking up front. There's no way to identify us at those events. And so I thought it would be very useful to have. I know we've got that magnetic thing, but that's kind of hard with bulky clothes to be able to use. So if a jacket would be appropriate to add on to that, what are your thoughts?
I got a question.
I'm all good with it. And exactly what you say, that you look like the homeless that throw on the fire truck.
Homeless, come on now.
I know, I'm saying that's some of the
kinda
stuff that's
hard.
happening. You go out there and you got, and I went the other way, if you would. I had the fancy uniform on, had commissioners with me, and it's like, this guy's following me,
Yeah,
stuff like that. That's why I think.
I've definitely felt like that
Yeah.
at times.
Needs to be out there, and they should.
I know that one of the concerns was just making sure that if we have these jackets, number one, we have some sort of protocol on when we're wearing them. And number two, we probably would need something that doesn't match necessarily rank and file, what gets worn at fire scenes. So if we have it on us and we end up stopping by a fire scene that we are identifiable, I don't think we need bright orange or anything like that, but just something that is at least different or, separate from the standard uniforms.
Thank you.
I don't know what we would need to do to get those options or find out if there's anything. Were you able to find anything at all on that or no?
I didn't know I was being asked to do that.
Okay. All right. Well, then I guess we can, what do we want to do?
Well, one question I have is, the polos is kind of like what we're given like at no cost to the commissioner, but to the cost, of course, of the RFA. But can a commissioner also ask for other things beyond the two that they can pay for themselves? I've seen like Liaison Swisher wear like some sort of I don't know what to call it.
Jacket.
It's almost like a cotton type of thing. Have you seen what Liaison Swisher wears? I saw her wearing kind of like a button-up sweater.
Oh, like a little wrap thing. Yeah, that's what women have traditionally been offered.
Okay.
So can I just interject for a moment? Just to give you a little bit of history, this issue was addressed in 2020 pretty substantially. And to the point where Chief Hovis and our finance director at the time created a draft policy that actually never came back to the board. It somehow was, once Kathleen left the organization, and it just never made it through HR. So there is some background that can be circulated to give you an idea of where the board stood at that time and what they came to the decision of, so that you're not starting from complete scratch, so to speak. And then maybe you can build off of that or completely change it, but at least you'll have an idea of what was discussed and what options were considered. So you're not reinventing the wheel. I know there are new items that have come to light from commissioners since this time.
Mhm.
So those can be considered separately as well.
Got it. I don't know what we have to do formally to take action on this, as far as, do we need a resolution or something like that that lists the items and then we make a motion on that, or what that would all involve. But I think that having that in the packet for the working session would be good.
And one of the issues that was discussed at that time was the idea of gifting of public funds. So how do you get around that issue? Is that an issue? And
Commissioner Long said there's some comments.
I'm Commissioner Hoffman first.
Yeah, I just want to say that
I'm sorry, he hasn't Hoffman.
I provide jackets with a city logo to everybody supervisor level and above. Simply because if you're in public and you go to meet somebody that identifies you, I certainly wouldn't do anything that matched the fire department, but like, I think we got them Land's End jackets, that kind of style of jacket with just a logo and their name. And then that way, I don't know about gifting in public funds, but it would seem to be a smart move if you're out in public,
And let me just elaborate on that just for a second. The gifting of public funds would be beyond the de minimis items that we offered. So there were some items that we would offer that would be acceptable, that at the time our finance department felt would be acceptable. And then anything above and beyond that, for instance, the jackets were paid, and several commissioners had already done that, had already purchased their own jackets.
Yeah, so I kind of think that to protect the taxpayers' money, that we should have a de minimis wardrobe, whatever that is. And then there's other options you can choose that you can pay for with your own funds.
Of course.
And then the question I have is, and maybe Melissa, you know this, when a commissioner stops serving, do they have to give that stuff back?
The decision at that time was yes.
No, I think.
The decision at that time was actually yes, but it has never been observed
I never.
or forced. Yeah.
know why it was a decision. I mean, who want to wear this again? I mean, if I, seriously.
Well, at least I'd have a Halloween costume for next year, but I'd probably get myself in trouble with it, so.
give it to Commissioner Lawrence first.
Yeah, yes, I did notice.
But
your
part of
hand went back
that,
up.
Commissioner, oh, sorry.
Oh, let's go with Commissioner Lawrence and then we can get some input.
Yes, Commissioner Chan, I will willingly take your clothes. I will wash them first, of course, before I give them off to my grandchildren, okay? So, I don't think I could fit in them. So, just, I like the idea of us having something to wear to functions that is very dissimilar from what the firemen have. Like the shirt we have, I wore it a couple times and I felt basically kind of like a poser, so just something that identifies us as commissioner, but not looking like firemen in any way, anybody in the service. So, there you go. My 2 cents.
Well, I guess we can go to
I was just gonna
GB
say,
thing.
uniforms, I get why we collect them back. Even if you're wearing commissioners stuff, historically, and is over the years, people have posed bad actors, find our uniforms, put them on and do bad things. Uniforms traditionally are controlled. When people retire, we get their uniforms back with the exception of their Class A. And so I guess Commissioner Chan, just so you know, if we have official wear, I'm going to call it official wear, that the commissioners are provided for their official capacity, the reality is that being controlled does make sense because you're an elected representing the RFA. When you're no longer elected, you don't represent the RFA. If you misplace that and somebody then puts it on and misrepresents himself as us, that can be problematic. So it's not unusual for official branded uniform, and I'm going to say, for lack of a better term, this is a commissioner's uniform, is that comes back as a result of those things, like what we do with the rank and file. We probably don't do as good a job on the West Coast as we should. But it is a big deal, and it depending on what the frame and where we are in the world events, that becomes a bigger deal or a lesser deal when it comes to that. So I think there is some merit into collecting those back. I also understand people wanting them. I get all those other pieces, but just it does make sense to me why they wanted it returned at the end for that control and security of uniform apparel, so people don't misrepresent themselves as us. Just, that's not here nor there, but it's not surprising that was the decision made back then.
I just wanted to comment off of that. I'll go back to my previous kind of line of reasoning that bad actors are able to go online and get polo shirts with whatever logos they want put on them pretty easily from all the different providers. We will like to acknowledge that that's the case, but definitely with the uniforms, completely understand and agree. And those often are harder to get a hold of, the more official like Class Bs and things like that. So I definitely would agree with that. I don't know if a polo shirt, rises that, but we can figure that out later. But Commissioner, do you have that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that if you want some like to remember your service as a commissioner, we get a plaque at the end. So we don't necessarily need a shirt, but everyone has their own kind of things that they want to keep. But
I guess how would that also work with your idea of having a selection that we could pay for out of our pocket? We get reimbursed if it got reabsorbed by the organization later, how we handle that. I think those are just things that we may
No,
not have thought of.
because the clothing is ruined once you've personalized it.
Mhm.
So then it's just, you're wearing it temporarily.
Are you all done? Okay, because I want to also say, actually, I encouraging our commissioner going to the conferences. Most of them have, their uniform, jackets, whatever, you can identify them. That's why we start the whole idea. It was kind of a joke, but I like the A1 A1 uniform because some of the commissioners were used to be a firefighter. They always ceremony. He always wear this what a Class A uniform, and the rest of us don't even have anything. When I first started, there's no uniform, there's no shirt, nothing identify us. Until later on, when we wanted a conference, I would suggest that we have some kind of uniform people identify. Because when you go to conference, we don't wear anything. People just don't even know, are you a secretary? Are you because there's a lot of staff going there, and that type of thing. So that's when we started. And of course, I want a Class A uniform, and Commissioner Kenny want a cowboy hat. Which, man, I mean, all serious outside, because I never heard of the use of public fund, because compare our budget, compare what we did. I mean, that is, if somebody want to challenge on that, I'll give challenge on that. I mean, I don't wear that. I don't wear my this uniform, go on picnics, go on other things. I'm really using many of the things for the functions, and not really, I got so many other t-shirts. Polo shirts in my house. I don't really, just because of that to me, that's a pretty insult to say that we're not to the public. I'm talking to the public now. Use of public fund, that is minimum.
All right. Well, we've got that memo or whatever was drafted up before that we can get in the packet for next week. I'm sure that, Commissioner Fernohoff has his hand raised. I do want to just say that, Richard Davis, if you want to just prepare a memo on what might be the line that we need to be careful not to cross while we're doing this, that will be helpful as well. Commissioner Fernohoff? I'm bringing them in because there is a question that may have been raised in the past about use of public funds, just to make sure that we've got our ducks in a row. We wouldn't want to step over a line, but that's why I'm asking for.
$100 just to go into use of public fund. We can buy all the polo shirts we can get.
I'm not going to try to think my way around the law.
No, and I can say when you have the auditor, asking you questions, it's nice to have that.
Exactly. Was there anything else? Commissioner Fernohoff? I don't think we're able to hear you. I tell you what, why don't you call into my cell phone and I can just put you on speaker in front of my microphone? Now that I had gotten a text earlier that he was having difficulty. He can hear us, but he can't seem to speak on the Zoom call. Tell you what, we're gonna not necessarily completely move on, but we'll go into commissioner comments, and if he calls in, he can comment. Commissioner comments. Anything from anyone? Yes, please. I think we got a good thing going on.
Yeah, no, I just want to say I was absent, well, I was away for 2 months. I appreciate the board being tolerant and I didn't make my December meeting. So my New Year resolution is that I'm going to smile more and not so intense because I'm sometimes compassionate. I recognize that because I don't want to tell you my whole trip, but there's definitely a different culture in Hong Kong. I don't know if some of you have been in Hong Kong. Hong Kong's an intense city. It's just kind of like New York. People don't smile, don't they just like cutting lines and do whatever. China more often too. But Taiwan is a very different. Everybody smile and everybody say thank you and they line in. And even my mood had changed when I was in Taiwan. So from now on, I was trying to smile more. So hopefully, if somebody I'm not smiling, people say, "Hey, David, how come you're not smiling?" So that's my New Year resolution here.
All right, I've got Commissioner Fernerhoff here. Give me just a second. Commissioner Fernerhoff, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Ooh, if you could just mute your computer.
Okay. Let's see. We'll try this. I didn't work. Okay. I'm sorry, it's not working. My only comment was esprit de corps. I really hate the division between the department and the commissioners and the wedge that it creates when we talk about the uniforms. I think that's one of the things that's really been disappointing. So the more that we can
Thank you. All right, looks like we had a little bit of feedback there from the Zoom meeting, but I think we heard. All right, if there's no further commissioner comments, we will move on to an executive session for the review of the performance of a public employee pursuant to RCW 4230-110-1G with possible action to come out. Yes, let's All right, calling the meeting back into session at 9:20. There is one final motion to be made. The motion is for the formation of an ad hoc committee to review contract negotiations with Ms. Blankenship, to be made up of Commissioner Teoflak and Commissioner Wittes at this point. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, seconded. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, the motion passes and the meeting stands adjourned.